Yo, man, you believe in God?
Do I believe in God? Yeah, I guess I do. How else can you have the sun, the moon, and stars and shit like that?
This people is of the offspring of the Chaldeans. They dwelt first in Mesopotamia, because they would not follow the gods of their fathers, who were in the land of the Chaldeans. Wherefore, forsaking the ceremonies of their fathers, which consisted in the worship of many gods, they worshipped one God of heaven, who also commanded them to depart from thence, and to dwell in Charan. And when there was a famine over all the land, they went down into Egypt, and there for 400 years were so multiplied, that the army of them could not be numbered. And when the king of Egypt oppressed them, and made slaves of them to labor in clay and brick in the building of his cities, they cried to their Lord, and he struck the whole land of Egypt with diverse plagues. And when the Egyptians had cast them out from them, and the plague had ceased from them, and they had a mind to take them again, and bring them back to their service, the God of heaven opened the sea to them in their flight, so that the waters were made to stand firm as a wall on either side. And they walked through the bottom of the sea, and passed it dry-footed. And when an innumerable army of the Egyptians pursued after them in that place, they were so overwhelmed with the waters that there was not one left to tell what had happened to posterity. After they came out of the Red Sea, they abode in the deserts of Mount Sinai, in which never man could dwell, or son of man rested. There bitter fountains were made sweet for them to drink, and for 40 years they received food from heaven. Wheresoever they went in without bow and arrow, and without shield and sword, there God fought for them and overcame. And there was no one that triumphed over this people. But as often as beside their own God they worshipped any other, they were given to spoil and to the sword and to reproach. And as often as they were penitent for having revolted from the worship of their God, the God of heaven gave them power to resist. And as long as they sinned not in the sight of their God, it was well with them, for their God hateth iniquity.
If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land.
Why do people look at us like we crazy when we read and know what we do out of the Bible?
If there be no offense of this people in the sight of their God, we cannot resist them, because their God will defend them, and we shall be a reproach to the whole earth.
People who care what they eat are learning some surprising things about calories. One surprising thing is that the white meat you see here contains fewer calories than anything else on the plate. But the most surprising thing is that this white meat is pork. Pork. The other white meat.
The first day of the week as this new Saturday, not in the Bible. Jesus died on Good Friday, not in the Bible. He rose early Easter Sunday morning, not in the Bible.
Son
Sunday was an attractive replacement for Sabbath because Sunday was beginning to draw to itself a certain amount of aura because of new developments in the pagan religion that made Sunday the day of worshiping the sun and thinking of the sun.
I suppose it was inevitable that elements of pagan worship would find their way into Christianity. Christians were, after all, a small minority in a distinctly pagan world. A world that worshiped mythical gods, dead emperors, and the invincible sun.
There is so much talk about the pagan traditions that are present in today's Christianity. Some even say that Christianity is based on paganism and Jesus is another pagan god. Let's see what they're talking about. In the year 312, General Constantine won the Battle of the Milvian Bridge by a supernatural intervention from the God of the Christians, as he put it. This victory made him the emperor of the Roman kingdom.
Speak.
Majesty, Maxentius has brought up troops from Sicily and Carthage. They arrived yesterday.
How many?
Tens of thousands. The country's teeming with them. Majesty, shouldn't we suspend the attack?
You see? From God!
Gratitude, he made Christianity the official religion of his kingdom. However, more than 80% of his subjects were pagans who worshipped sun god, along with a mother goddess, sometimes with the sun, known by different names at different regions of his vast empire. These gods, however, represented Nimrod, Semiramis, and the son Tammuz, who ruled over the Sumerian Babylon right after the great flood of Noah. Now, the church went out of its way to woo this pagan population, and of course make them Christians. For a starter, the Christian worship day was changed from Saturday to Sunday to coincide with the pagan sun god worship
Well,
day.
if you tell them you go to church on the 7th day of the week, they say, wait a minute, you don't believe that Christ changed that? What we're going to do is go by what the Bible say, and not what man say.
If there be no offense of this people in the sight of their God, we cannot resist them, because their God will defend them, and we shall be a reproach to the whole earth.
The symbolism of the sun was introduced inside the church to make the pagans feel at home. Since the pagans were used to worshipping statues of Mary, Jesus, and other saints were introduced in church buildings. In those days, winter solstice was a major day of celebration, and there were many other festivals centered around this day in various parts of the Roman Empire. They were all bundled up into Christmas on December 25th in the name of Jesus' birthday. In the process, all pagan religious customs involving holly, ivy, mistletoe, Yule logs, evergreen trees, and you name it, they all walked into Christianity.
If there be no offense of this people in the sight of their God, we cannot resist them, because their God will defend them, and we shall be a reproach to the whole earth.
Tell somebody you don't do Christmas, they look at you like you're not Christian.
Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, Learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold, they fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good.
Was the spring equinox in which the resurrected Semiramis is claimed to have returned to the earth in a large egg, which landed. A dove saw it and ate the egg to the. Out came Semiramis as the bare-breasted fertility goddess Ishtar and turned the dove into an egg-laying rabbit for helping her safe landing. It was also believed that her tears for her dead son Tammuz came as spring showers, watering the food crops and vegetation to sustain humanity. This ushering in of new life was interpreted as the resurrection of Tammuz. It was also a custom to mourn 40 days for Tammuz prior to the arrival of this day. Church adopted this pagan custom as Lent. The resurrection of Tammuz was replaced by the festival of Passover and the resurrection of Jesus, still called by its old pagan name, Easter.
You tell them you don't do Easter, they say, well, you don't believe in the resurrection?
These are some sad things that happened to Christianity. What happened to the pagans? Well, they became Christians eventually.
What we're going to do, we're going to give it to you plain and uncut about how you got your doctrine and how we keep our doctrine. And our doctrine is what we can read out of the Bible. Because most of the things that people talk about that, Jesus was born on December 25th, not in the Bible. God sanctified the first day of the week as his new Sabbath day, not in the Bible. Jesus died on Good Friday, not in the Bible. He rose early Easter Sunday morning, not in the Bible. But then we're going to look at the Lord's feast days. We're going to look at the days that he set up, and those are the ones that man don't even follow. In fact, they changed it to the point where they would rather follow the heathen way of doing it as opposed to the Lord's way of doing it.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.